Long before Louisiana was called Louisiana, long before European maps named the Mississippi Valley, and long before modern people imagined North America as a young land without ancient wonders, indigenous people stood on Macon Ridge in what is now northeast Louisiana and began shaping the earth into something extraordinary. Today we call the place Poverty Point, but it was not its original name. The name came much later from a 19th century plantation on the land. The people who built the site did not leave us their written language, and archaeologists do not know what they called themselves. But they did leave something powerful: mounds, ridges, plazas, tools, ornaments, trade goods, and proof that the ancient North America had engineering, organization, ceremony, and vision. Poverty Point was built roughly between 1700 and 1100 BCE. That means it's about 3,400 to 3,700 years old. When people were building and gathering there, the Great Pyramids of Giza in Egypt were already ancient, having been built around 2550 BCE. So Poverty Point is not older than the Egyptian pyramids at Giza, but it belongs in the same broad ancient world. It existed in deep antiquity, at a time when many people wrongly imagined North America as empty, primitive, or undeveloped. Compared to the Great Pyramid sites of Mexico, Poverty Point is older than many famous Mesoamerican pyramid complexes. The Olmec Center at La Venta rose later as a major ceremonial center, especially between 800 and 400 BCE. The Teotihuacan Pyramid of the Sun was completed much later, around 200 CE. So while Poverty Point is younger than Giza, it is older than many of the monumental pyramid sites people usually associate with ancient Mexico. But Poverty Point's greatness is not based on copying Egypt or Mexico. Its greatness is its own. The site contains 6 massive, curved, concentric earthen ridges, a broad central plaza, and several mounds. The ridges form a huge C shape or a semi-ellipse. People likely lived in or around these ridges, cooked there, worked there, gathered there, and participated in ceremonies there. One of the most famous features is Mound A, sometimes called the Bird Mound because of its shape. It rises more than 70 feet high and was made by people moving soil by hand, basket by basket, without horses, metal tools, or wheels. This is one of the most important lessons of Poverty Point. These people were not helpless wanderers. They were not waiting for civilization to arrive from somewhere else. They organized labor, planned construction, moved enormous amounts of earth, maintained a vast landscape, and created one of the most impressive ancient earthwork complexes in North America. The people of Poverty Point were indigenous hunter-fisher-gatherers. That matters because many older theories assumed that only farming societies could build large monuments. Poverty Point challenges that assumption. These people were not dependent upon large-scale agriculture, yet they built a major center of trade, ceremony, residence, and social life. They drew food from rivers, wetlands, forests, and nearby lands. Fish remains are essentially important at the site, showing the central role of local waterways. Poverty Point was also part of a huge trade network. Archaeologists have found stone and other materials that did not come from northeast Louisiana. Some materials came from hundreds of miles away, including regions connecting through the Mississippi River system. That means Poverty Point was not isolated. It was connected. People, goods, ideas, and relationships flowed into its place from across a wide indigenous world. Was Poverty Point the oldest site in North America? No, it is not the oldest human habitation site on the continent. Such sites as Meadowcroft Rock Shelter in Pennsylvania and Cooper's Ferry in Idaho preserve evidence of people in North America thousands of years earlier. Even in Louisiana, Watson Break is an older mound complex dating to roughly 3,500 BCE. But Poverty Point remains one of the oldest, largest, and most complex monumental earthwork centers of its kind in North America. So the real question is not simply whether Poverty Point is the oldest. The better question is, why have so many people never heard of it? Poverty Point forces us to rethink the story of ancient America. It shows that indigenous people in North America built monumental landscapes long before European contact. It shows that complexity does not always look like stone pyramids. Sometimes it looks like earth carefully shaped into ridges, mounds, plazas, and sacred spaces. Sometimes it looks like a community that knew how to organize itself, feed itself, trade across long distances, and build something that lasted for thousands of years. Poverty Point is just not an archaeological site. It is evidence of intelligence, evidence of planning, evidence of culture, evidence of ancient indigenous power in the Mississippi Valley. And for my audience, this lesson is clear. We must stop allowing other people to define what civilization existed and what civilization looked like. Ancient North America has its own monuments, its own sacred places, its own engineers, and its own builders. Poverty Point stands as one of the great reminders that history on this continent did not begin with colonization. It began thousands of years before that with people who studied the land, mastered the environment, and left behind a monument made not out of stone, but earth, memory, and collective labor. To all the builders and residents of Poverty Point, we proudly stand on your shoulders. For more information, please visit my website at www.ontheshoulders1.com. There, you can support my OTSOG book series. You can also support me on Patreon at patreon.com/OTSOG. You can join this channel as a member. You can purchase yourself some merchandise, and you can also hit the super like button under this video to support. And with that being said, as always, I love you all, and make sure you catch the next video coming up.